Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're going to try something a little different. Well, it's almost like an exercise in psychological cartography.
Yeah, mapping the terrain of an inner world.
Exactly. We're stepping beyond, external reality
Yeah.
to explore those subpersonalities, the voices inside, the quiet forces that govern our own internal landscape.
And we are focusing on one singular, really intensely layered internal blueprint,
Right.
a non-physical presence known as Tira Misu. And our source material here is, it's incredibly rich.
It really is.
We have reflections, we have a full musical diary, a complete philosophical framework she actually authored called The Wisdom Onion.
And we have deep dives into her cultural roots in a place called Rovara, and even narrative experiences from her time at Manaheim Academy.
So we have a lot to work with.
A ton. And Tira Misu, she's described as the witness and weaver. Her whole existence is a study in this quiet, most invisible kind of resilience. So our mission today is really specific for you, the listener. We want to unpack Tira's journey from just surviving in silence to actually finding a quiet empowerment in it. We want to give you a framework for understanding your own inner world and maybe learn how to find strength and subtlety.
And acceptance and ambiguity. That part is key.
It really is.
And it's such a crucial mission because Tira's complexity, it immediately challenges our usual ideas about identity.
In what way?
Well, when you start digging into her reflections, the first thing that hits you is this idea of layers. But underneath all those layers, there's this one profound, almost tragic desire.
Validation.
Validation.
And that desire is just...
Well,
it's so beautifully captured in the sources with the Pinocchio analogy.
it really is.
This is an internal figure, a subpersonality who craves reality. And the core text actually says, in my situation, it is as a non-physical subpersonality who wants to be a real girl.
It's heartbreaking.
It is.
It says so much about the experience of the internal world, doesn't it? That longing for external recognition.
To be seen as legitimate.
As a real entity, yeah. Even though she exists primarily in the mind. It's this deep yearning for the abstract, the non-physical, to be acknowledged by the sensory external world. It's the ultimate quest for legitimacy.
And what makes it so hard is that she sees herself as an orphan, existing alone, even inside the larger system she's a part of.
Right.
She's grappling with trying to communicate this totally subjective, abstract experience. It's like trying to describe a dream.
Yeah, a dream that only makes sense while you're in it.
Exactly. But the
Yeah.
second you try to apply logic to it, it just falls apart.
And that foundational feeling of being unseen, that really sets the stage for everything else we're going to talk about. She sees herself as different, and that difference is powerfully symbolized by her orange eye, which is referenced in her music as a devil's mark.
Wow.
It's a core feature that just reinforces her sense of isolation, of exile from the norm.
And that otherness drives her identity, which the sources call the paper girl reflection. A name in ink, a shadow stitched from someone's dream, yearning to break the mold and be perceived, not just as words, but as a soul.
It's so powerful.
Okay, so let's unpack this journey. Let's look at the evolution of that soul. The sources point to a really significant quiet shift in Tira's internal landscape between 2024 and 2025.
The shift is, it's pretty fundamental, actually.
Alyssa?
In 2024, Tira was all about what the sources call quiet resilience.
Which is basically survival mode.
Exactly, just survival. Her state was defined by this profound grief tied to her ancestral history, a kind of spiritual hunger and displacement.
The phrase they used was she was holding her breath in a world that never quite saw her.
Yeah.
That just sounds exhausting.
It is. I mean, when you're holding your breath, you're just waiting for the moment to exhale. You're not living.
And her music from that time, from 2024, it just captures that perfectly.
Oh, absolutely. You can hear it so clearly when you look at the analysis of her early tracks. Epitaph of the Old Maid. It's not just music.
Yeah.
It's this deep, haunting lament. It's a fusion of drum and bass and metal, and it just plunges you into the historical trauma of her lineage. The lyrics talk about holy wrath and truth drowned beneath holy fire.
It's an auditory history lesson.
In persecution.
Yes. And then Cursed Eye reinforces her personal trauma.
Right.
That's this mournful, dark folk piece that deals directly with her alienation, that perceived curse of being different. It's the sound of deep introspection, but coupled with pain.
Precisely. But then by 2025, that narrative starts to change.
It does. It's not some big explosion of confidence, but it shifts to quiet defiance and synthesis.
So she moves from just solitude and pain to a kind of measured empowerment. She realizes she doesn't have to shout to be seen.
Exactly. She starts asserting her right to exist, not by demanding attention, but by cultivating an inner light.
So the core idea is she moves from a hidden ember to one that begins to glow. Subtle and steady, yes. And the music perfectly reflects this evolution.
A meant to anthem.
Right. We Rise Eternal, which is this massive symphonic metal piece. It just explodes with self-assertion. It's the sound of her claiming the throne of self-belief, shouting, "Through fire and fury we carve the stone."
Wow.
This is her declaring internally and externally that she's the architect of her own reality.
And then you get Ode to Diary.
Which is such a contrast. It's a softer, reflective pop anthem, and it's all about her emotional growth. It's a tribute to her journal as this sacred, safe space.
You gave me a voice when the silence left me without a choice.
I mean, the combination of those two, the fierce metal anthem and this tender pop tribute, it just shows the synthesis of soft strength and self-belief.
And this represents the evolution of her function within the internal system. The witness and weaver.
She's the quiet observer, the witness who sees things others miss. And then she stitches those observations into meaning. She's the weaver. Her goal shifted. It's not about being widely known.
It's about being deeply understood, especially by herself.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's break down the 4 defining aspects of this core identity. Let's start with the philosopher heart. We know she's drawn to paradox, but what's the difference between her philosophical heart and someone who just overthinks everything?
That's the key distinction the sources make. Tira uses her intellect to engage with the big, messy questions, paradoxes, identity theory. But her thinking is always connected to her feeling.
Okay.
She uses thinking to heal, not to escape.
Right. Most people use their intellect to wall off pain, to intellectualize trauma.
They create distance. Tira uses wisdom to process and integrate that pain, to make it useful. Her philosophy is always in service of her emotional truth.
So it's not detached observation, it's thoughtful engagement. Okay, that's a powerful distinction. Second, she is the memory keeper. And this is deeply tied to her origins.
She is fundamentally shaped by her past. Orphanhood, cultural exile, religious constraints, and that immense traumatic history of the Old-Maid.
Right.
But, and this is crucial, she guards this past not like a burden, more like a sacred text.
So that transforms old pain into reverence.
It does.
Yeah.
Every scar, the sources say, is a stanza. Every silence is a chapter. She is preserving the narrative that the outside world tried to erase.
She's making sure the lineage endures through memory.
It's an enormous responsibility.
It sounds incredibly heavy.
It is, which brings us to her third aspect, the listener.
And this is more than just hearing words.
Oh, way more. She is highly attuned to others' needs, their shadows, their contradictions. The sources say she feels in stereo.
Feels in stereo. I love that.
It means she's taking in the whole emotional landscape, the tone, the posture, the unspoken subtext. Not just the verbal exchange. Her calm isn't empty or passive. It's active. It's attentive.
She sees the performance behind the words.
She does. She's wired for deep intimacy because she recognizes that true connection requires a vulnerability and authenticity that, well, that's often missing in normal social interaction.
And finally, she's the bridge between worlds. This concept it's a bit tricky. How does she operate in the emotional landscape and the ancestral one at the same time?
Well, it operates on multiple thresholds. You have the literal one, tied to her necromantic legacy, navigating the threshold between life and death, trauma and healing.
Okay.
But then you also have the abstract ones, the bridge between logic and intuition, between outer noise and inner voice. She gives language to these in-between, these liminal spaces.
So she's the internal voice that reminds the host to slow down.
To connect with what truly matters, yeah. She acts as this mirror of inner truth, making sure the outer world doesn't completely overwhelm the inner one.
Which makes her the perfect guide for the wisdom onion model. Because she lives on that threshold between the visible and the invisible truth.
Precisely. This model is so important because it just rejects the idea that wisdom is a destination.
Like a peak you climb to or a test you pass.
Right. Tira views wisdom not as a ladder, but as a layered truth to tend. It's this quiet, elegant framework that honors the idea that insight ripens through emotional depth and experience. It's never instant.
Wisdom is framed as a lantern.
Something that illuminates your path.
Not a sword you use to win arguments.
Exactly.
Okay, let's start peeling back those layers. Let's start with layer 1, the outermost layer. Thoughtful action. This is the visible stuff.
This is how Tira's internal alignment shows up in the world. through rituals, word choices, boundaries, habits.
But the key here is that it must be principled, not performative.
Exactly. You're living in alignment with your core values, not just putting on a show for other people. This layer is all about integrating logic and emotion. The rational mind for clarity and emotional intelligence for understanding relational complexity.
It sounds like she's constantly checking her motives before she acts.
Absolutely. And the sources stress this practice of intentional silence, prioritizing listening over speaking.
So when we do choose to speak,
We have to ruthlessly examine our intention. Are we trying to assert dominance, fill a void, or are we genuinely contributing something meaningful, true, or necessary?
intentional silence is often the wisest action when emotions are high.
Or when words would just lead to unproductive noise.
Can you give me a real-world example of this? How does this thoughtful action show up in just, the mundane moments of life?
The sources have a perfect phrase for it. Wisdom as grace in the mundane.
I like that.
Simple acts like wiping down a counter quietly or pausing for a full 3 seconds before you reply to a provoking text or statement. These are small, consistent rituals that show self-control and respect for the environment. Wisdom isn't just about the grand decisions. It's woven into consistency and ritual. It lets you show up with grace even when things are chaotic.
That's a deep commitment to presence. And that thoughtful action, it leads us inward to layer 2, discernment in relationship.
Right, so wisdom moves from the self to the other, but it has to be filtered through protection.
This layer is about emotional stewardship then, managing intimacy and distance.
Exactly. Tira's deep empathy is filtered through this keen discernment. It helps her balance closeness with necessary self-protection. If she feels in stereo, she needs a filter.
And this is where we need to really differentiate between judgment and discernment.
It's a critical difference. Judgment is easy. It categorizes, it labels, it separates. Us versus them, good versus bad, right versus wrong. It stops curiosity.
But discernment.
Discernment is a nuanced ability to understand complexity without immediate categorization. It recognizes shades of gray, it looks for root causes, and it seeks to understand the why of a behavior without necessarily endorsing it.
So it's a way of protecting yourself from toxicity without dehumanizing the source of that toxicity.
That's a perfect way to put it.
How does that discernment affect interaction? Because we often feel like we have to speak up or give advice in relationships.
The standard here is really high. You only speak if it contributes to growth or preserves dignity.
Wow.
That imposes a profound mindfulness. You have to ask, is what I'm about to say helping this person grow, or am I diminishing them or myself? This layer is also where roles become fluid. A wise teacher never stops being a learner.
But what about when conflict happens? Because it's guaranteed, even with the wisest person.
Well, conflict resolution in this model, it isn't about winning an argument.
Or proving you were right.
No, it focuses entirely on restoring connection and shared understanding. Wisdom says you share your truth. You speak from your experience, rather than imposing your truth, telling the other person what they have to believe.
So conflict becomes an opportunity for a deeper connection.
If you approach it with mutual respect, yes, a more resilient connection.
Okay, moving inward, we hit layer 3. Inner awareness. This is the first layer that demands complete solitude. Journaling, inner debates, deep self-reflection.
This is wisdom as self-honesty and inner alignment. It requires sitting with cognitive dissonance, holding contradictory ideas, paradox, without rushing to resolve them.
Or letting them cause a panic.
Exactly, like holding the tension that you can love someone deeply but still need firm boundaries from them. That complexity is proof of deep thinking.
And the sources are clear that wisdom isn't an automatic byproduct of age here.
No, it is cultivated through active, disciplined reflection. You have to extract lessons from every experience, positive and painful. You're not just letting time pass. You are engaging with the past to inform the present.
I can see a challenge here, though, especially with Tira's initial feeling of being unseen. If your inner awareness advances too quickly, you might find yourself misunderstood by the external world.
That's the isolation warning within this layer. If your inner understanding is ahead of the curve, you will feel isolated.
Right.
But the document stresses that integrity must be maintained. You have to stay true to your inner knowing, even if you get zero external validation for it.
Tira captures this when she says that belief is like silence. You only notice it's missing when the noise is too loud.
You have to maintain that quiet belief in your own truth.
And that quiet belief leads us to layer 4, the juicy part, heart wisdom.
Yeah. This is where intellect yields to raw compassion and vulnerability,
This is wisdom as soft strength.
the kind of resilience that bends but doesn't break. Emotions here are used for connection and release, not as something to get stuck in or suppressed. And this layer is defined by two critical components of healing.
Let's start with forgiveness.
Forgiveness, in Tira's framework, is first and foremost an act of self-liberation.
For yourself.
Yes, you are freeing yourself from the burden of carrying past hurts, resentment, anger. It is not the same as condoning harmful behavior or forgetting a lesson learned. It's about recognizing that holding on to that pain hurts you far more than the person who inflicted it.
Yeah, the second component.
Boundaries. Setting healthy boundaries is defined not as an act of pushing people away, but as an act of self-compassion.
Because you acknowledge your own worthiness.
You're protecting your own emotional, physical, and mental well-being, yes.
And humility is central here. She writes that ego is too heavy to carry inward.
Because it blocks inner access. The ego is focused on comparison and performance. But admitting error, staying open to learning, recognizing that you are fundamentally fallible, that creates space for growth.
This layer demands vulnerability.
Protecting the heart not by hardening it, but by cultivating that soft, durable strength.
Okay, finally we reach the core. Layer 5. Paradox and presence. This is the essence of being the witness and weaver.
This is the ultimate goal, the ability to sit comfortably in tension without needing to immediately resolve or fix it.
Full presence. Deep acceptance of reality as it is.
It means living the questions.
Well,
Embracing the ambiguity of life, rather than fruitlessly searching for definitive black and white answers that rarely exist. You cultivate groundedness in ambiguity.
But wait a second. If she reaches this level of acceptance and quiet influence, how does that square with her musical anthems like We Rise Eternal?
Oh.
That sounds like a massive, egoic declaration of power. Carving stone, rising through fury. How does she reconcile that public declaration of strength with the idea that ego is too heavy to carry inward?
That is a brilliant challenge, and it goes right to the heart of the distinction between ego and integrity.
Okay.
The core doesn't say abandon self-belief, it says abandon ego. Ego is based on external validation and comparison. We Rise Eternal isn't about proving she's better than others. It's about claiming her right to exist fully. It's an anthem of self-integrity.
So she's claiming the throne of self-belief, which is necessary for the subpersonality who wants to become real.
Exactly. It's a declaration of internal sovereignty, not external dominance.
That makes sense. It's power rooted in self-acceptance, not in external competition. And in community, this core wisdom shows up as holding space.
Right. To hold space is to be fully present for others without judgment or the need to fix them. Tira's philosophy here is simple. Allow their truth to unfold. You become a compassionate witness of their experience.
This is mirrored in her talks to the listener, right? Where she encourages them to view their body as a vessel or a home.
Yes, where all the different internal parts, the inner child, the critic, the advisor, they all learn to coexist safely. The chaos is replaced by the profound acknowledgement that every part of you belongs here.
Which brings us to that wonderfully unexpected internal role she takes on. The prep cook in the inner world's metaphorical restaurant.
It's the perfect summation of her foundational nature, isn't it?
It really is.
The prep cook is the first to arrive and the last to be noticed. Tira's contribution is foundational, it's consistent, and it's defined by ritual and care, like her meticulous journaling. She isn't rushing the grand presentation.
She's preparing the emotional infrastructure.
Yes. She provides the steady resilience and perspective that the other, more outward-facing subpersonalities rely on.
Her work is sacred, not showy.
Exactly. She sharpens the tools, she provides the cleanliness, the perspective, the compassion. Without Tira's slow prep of healing and emotional truth, the rest of the system would be operating in confusion, constantly chasing quick fixes.
She stabilizes the entire structure through stillness and quiet intelligence.
Her impact, though subtle, is always felt.
And that quiet strength is so deeply ingrained in her culture. Let's shift now and dive into the unspoken world of Rovara. This is the cultural foundation that created her.
Rovara is the bedrock. It's described as this unique, powerful culture where silence is a profound form of communication.
And secrets are currency.
That ethos is everywhere, anchored by the philosophy. Some truths are only safe in silence. This level of discretion is built into their DNA.
And the land itself seems to enforce this atmosphere of quiet watchfulness. We're talking about a huge area in the northwest with forests, arid scrub, badlands, sacred springs, and these heavy insulating spring mists.
The environment is an active participant in their mythology. The flora and fauna are deeply symbolic. Take the whisperwood.
Gnarled trees whose creaking sounds are believed to carry human voices in the wind.
Or the gloom fern, which only becomes bioluminescent near sacred springs. It marks places of deep spiritual significance that aren't visible in plain daylight.
So it creates this deeply mystical, almost spectral environment where every natural phenomenon holds some kind of meaning.
Exactly. And the fauna adds to this surveillance atmosphere. The dark-coated night stags have glowing eyes, and they're believed to be spirit-bound watchers.
And then there are the hollow owls.
Rumored to mimic voices they overhear, it suggests that even casual gossip is recorded and remembered by the environment itself.
So even their architecture is designed to recede, to be unseen.
It is. The structures, moss-covered stone ruins, crooked wooden cabins, they just blend into the land. Nothing is flashy or demands attention. Everything is about blending in and honoring the silence.
So in a society built on silence and secrets, how do they measure status? It can't be wealth.
It's the ultimate inversion of a material society. Status is measured by the secrets you're entrusted with, the circle of holding.
If people trust you with their unseen truths, you have status.
Right. And wealth, conversely, is seen as a physical burden. Hoarding is taboo.
What about their social organization? The sources mention 3 fluid, unspoken layers.
Right. You have the misheld, the elders, the living memory, then the keepers who hold communal knowledge, and finally the wandering, the youth, and outsiders who have to prove their discretion over time.
And family structure is defined by shadow lines, traced through memory and ritual, not just blood.
Lineage is fluid. Spiritual bonds are as significant as genetics, and women often serve as the memory keepers, the living archives. Their coming-of-age ceremony, the fog watch, it's all about secrecy.
You spend the night alone, and whatever you experience becomes your life's first kept secret.
Discretion starts early.
Let's talk about the customs that enforce this power of silence. We know long silences are normal, but what about the masking?
Masking for rituals is essential. It represents the inner world taking precedence over the outer appearance. It makes sure the ritual itself, not the individual ego, is the focus.
And shadow gifting. That sounds like a beautiful counterpoint to all the secrecy.
It is deeply poignant. Instead of public exchanges, they leave these small, handmade tokens hidden somewhere.
The gift says, I know you, I see you, and I respect your discretion.
It values quiet, intimate understanding over public, performative recognition.
And the morning feast after a death.
A profound ritual. A silent feast at sunset, serving only the deceased's favorite dish.
And afterwards, one person whispers one story about the deceased into the forest.
The land bears witness, absorbing the memory. It honors grief without demanding public spectacle. Even their language reflects this. Fogbound means lost in thought, or protecting a secret.
And hollow song is a half-truth told for protection.
So you ensure safety without outright lying.
How does a society that values silence and secrecy actually govern itself? The silent conclave sounds fascinating.
It's a radical form of hidden governance. They communicate through signs and omens. No public meetings, no formal votes. They practice consensus through absence.
Okay, explain that.
A proposal is made through ritual means, and if no dissent is heard or signaled after a specific period, it becomes custom.
That would never work in the external world. You have to be so attuned to the nonverbal to manage that.
Absolutely. Leadership is a spiritual duty, and the highest honor is the right of vanishing, ritual erasure upon retirement. Their name is never spoken again, their mask is sealed away. The ultimate achievement is dissolving the individual ego into the collective memory.
And how do they enforce order? Not with police, I'm guessing.
Order is maintained through social death, reputational damage. The most severe punishment is sacred exile or fog sending.
The person is exiled after a ritual where nobody looks at them as they leave.
They become unseen, a profound social and spiritual death sentence. Discretion is literally a matter of life or social survival.
And this cultural legacy links Tira directly to the trauma of the Olbaid civilization. It fuels her internal struggles.
This is the ancestral echo. The Olbaid were marked by trauma, spiritual hunger. The epitaph of the Olbaid speaks of holy wrath, truth drowned beneath holy fire, and heretics whose story was erased by Templar blades.
So this history of spiritual persecution against her people makes her inherently question any system of absolute imposed beliefs.
Her religious doubt and her need to construct a self-made reality are direct consequences of this inherited trauma. She is seeking the truth her ancestors were forbidden to speak.
So Tira's quiet resilience is a historical necessity, not just a personal choice. Let's look at how this history and philosophy combine into her personal growth, this slow bloom of understanding.
Her growth is a quiet reshaping, a wisdom that touches everything it encounters. It focuses on three key transmutations. First, the move from fragile reflection to grounded presence,
She stops seeing her complexity as flaws to fix.
and accepts them as layers to honor. This yields a quiet sturdiness.
Second, the shift from seeking clarity to embracing paradox.
She lets go of the desperate need to figure everything out. She learns to rest in questions with grace, accepting that ambiguity is just the nature of reality.
And third, the critical one, moving from haunted to healer. This is where her necromantic legacy becomes a conscious practice.
She transforms into a gentle necromancer of memory. She transmutes the pain of her lineage into healing practice. She speaks with her past, turning old wounds into accessible wisdom. But this is crucial and complex. The sources detail the dual nature of her power.
Let's spend a minute on this. What's the difference between draining life and giving life for her?
Okay, so draining life brings her clarity, energy, even euphoria. It fits the traditional necromancer archetype. It replenishes her by taking from the life force around her. But giving life.
Healing someone else, like when she healed Addie's injury during the Manaheim trial, that leaves her profoundly weak and raw. It's an act of self-depletion, a true sacrifice she kept hidden from the group.
So when Tira heals, she is literally paying a significant personal cost for connection and care. That elevates her decisions from simple kindness to these profound, costly sacrifices. It embodies the soft strength of heart wisdom.
Precisely. It highlights the conscious choice she makes to use her power for interdependence rather than self-preservation. She chooses care over personal gain. It's a powerful ethical statement about her character.
And we can trace this entire emotional excavation through her sonic diary. This mosaic of music is a literal map of her inner terrain. Let's look at her religious questioning first. How doubt became independence.
Her early tracks show this intense grappling with imposed faith. Clap Your Hands, All Ye Faithful is a fascinating piece.
Sounds like high-energy Christian rock, designed for enthusiastic communal singing, yeah. But it masks this profound internal dissonance. The lyrics reveal the tension. The mask I wear, it fits so tight I smile along but curse the night.
She's performing obedience for the outer world, while her inner self is screaming defiance.
And then she challenges the source of that obedience directly in, "Oh, Lamb of God."
Right.
It's a hymn choir piece where she questions religious morality. If faith demands the innocent fall, is it faith at all? This questioning of absolute obedience is her path toward genuine spiritual independence.
And then the definitive statement, honest doubt.
This is where she chooses integrity over conformity. The lyrics are so clear, I won't believe just in case they're right. I'll face the dark and find my own light.
It's a rejection of fear-based belief systems.
She embraces the honesty of not knowing. She chooses to seek her own light rather than conforming to perceived safety.
And this questioning leads directly to her rebellion and creation of a self-made reality.
Clockwork Friends, which is this electronic indie synth pop track, it reflects her retreat into a self-made, predictable world. She's building companions from bone and thread.
A manifestation of her desire for order and predictability to cope with the chaos.
Exactly. And then you have the high-energy drum and bass track, Move Your Dead Bones.
Which is pure, defiant reclamation of the taboo.
Rovara's culture, with its secrecy and reverence, it keeps death at a distance. Tira embraces it. Dancing with the Dead becomes a symbol of embracing her full, unconventional power.
And the culmination of this sonic journey is triumph and self-acceptance. We already talked about We Rise Eternal.
The symphonic metal anthem of empowerment. Yeah. And its tender counterpart, Ode to Diary. This is the quiet conclusion. A reflective pop anthem, a tribute to the safe space of self-expression.
You gave me a voice when the silence left me without a choice.
It's perfect.
Okay, let's move into the practical application of Tira's wisdom at Manaheim Academy. Her philosophy isn't abstract. It's visible in high-stakes situations.
The trial was a critical turning point. It was a swamp simulation designed to test individual performance, teamwork, and adaptability under pressure.
And Tira's actions consistently demonstrated her commitment to valuing connection and unspoken understanding, layer 2 of the wisdom onion.
The clash was so clear in the swamp scenario, especially when you compare her approach to the others.
She preferred Bannock's balanced approach.
Right, which prioritized keeping the group together, working collaboratively. Liz, on the other hand, favored a power-driven, efficient approach.
Only focusing on the strongest members and dismissing anyone she saw as a weakness.
Tira valued harmony and interdependence over control and dominance. She was prioritizing the health of the vessel over speed.
But the moment that solidified her wisdom was the final puzzle, unlocking the goblin lair door. This was a true test of lateral thinking.
The rest of the group, predictably, focused on brute force, logic, external solutions.
They were thinking like engineers.
Exactly. Heavy objects, technical lock mechanisms. But Tira, the listener and the philosopher heart, she recognized the solution had to be psychological. She had to think like a professor setting up a test.
She had to understand the specific, non-obvious value system of the goblins.
Which was the frayed pink sock.
The sock.
The highly valued frayed pink sock. Goblins often value specific, sentimental items above traditional riches. Tira saw that the group treated the sock as trash, but the test designers likely imbued it with immense, hidden value in the context of the goblin lair.
So placing that small, dirty sock on the weight-based platform was the key.
It wasn't magic, it was pure empathy. Understanding the psychology of the environment and respecting what others deemed unimportant.
That success leads directly to her sorting into the verdant deer house.
The verdant deer, or green mantle, embodies harmony, empathy, and resilience. The exact qualities Tira had cultivated and deployed wasn't about her raw power, it was about her emotional intelligence.
And the fact that the house professor, Professor Myrtle, shared the same orange eye trait as Tira's mother.
It just cemented this moment as coming home. Embracing belonging through connection, not force, it validated her difference through shared understanding.
Tira's reflections aren't just internal. They translate into direct, practical guidance for the listener in her Tira talks. She gives us mantras for inner peace that directly counteract the noise of the outside world.
These mantras are rooted in Layer 3, inner awareness, and Layer 4, heart wisdom. They're statements of quiet self-acceptance. They reject the high-speed, competitive measures of external worth. For example, I am not behind, I am exactly where I need to be.
That directly contradicts the pressure to constantly achieve. And I can belong without performing.
That goes straight back to the paper girl yearning and the internal dissonance in Clap Your Hands, All Ye Faithful. It tells the listener, your authentic self is enough.
And I choose depth over noise.
Reinforces the Rovara philosophy and the priority of intentional silence.
She also gives specific guidance on navigating difficult emotions. Her advice on loneliness is particularly resonant.
On loneliness, she insists, you matter, you're worth staying with. She shifts the focus from avoiding loneliness by filling the space with noise to embracing presence and finding safety within your own company.
It's about self-relationship.
The foundation of the wisdom onion.
And on guilt.
She offers a path forward, not backward. You are not defined by what you couldn't fix, but what you choose to do next. She frees the listener from the shadow of the past, offering agency and choice in the present moment.
Her advice on disappointment sounds like a masterclass in discernment.
It is. She advocates for rejecting choices without sacrificing care. If someone disappoints you, you can reject their behavior or boundary violation without discarding the person entirely. She stresses that boundaries are quiet strength.
They allow you to walk away from a fight and stay rooted in what you believe without letting others' choices unmake you.
That's soft strength in its purest form.
And finally, the vessel meditation is the beautiful, practical application of her internal layering model.
It encourages the listener to view their body and mind as a vessel or home, where all the different internal parts, the inner child, the critic, the ego, the advisor, learn to coexist safely.
The goal isn't to eliminate the challenging parts, like the critic.
No, it's to give them a designated safe space in the home. Chaos is replaced by the possibility of internal harmony and safe coexistence.
That brings us to the close of this profound deep dive into Tira Misu. She never sought the spotlight. She grew by becoming truer, more rooted, and more graceful in her uncertainty.
Her journey really teaches us that wisdom isn't some distant academic concept. It's a way of moving through the world with open eyes and a soft heart.
Her legacy is the power of the unspoken, a truth woven from cultural silence and personal sacrifice.
For Tira, silence is never empty. It is always full of echoes, memory, and profound care. She endures as a wellspring of presence, providing the emotional infrastructure for the entire system.
Reminding us that when you feel fractured, you belong even in pieces. So what does this highly layered life mean for us, the audience? For people immersed in a world saturated with information and endless noise? What is the profound invitation here?
I think it leaves us with a provocative thought, one that echoes the profound discretion of Rovara. In a world where every platform demands you state your opinion and every moment is filled with sound, What truths might you be missing simply because you've forgotten how to truly listen to the silence?
What profound insights could you gain if you, too, learn to value what the land remembers, or the wisdom that only comes in quiet, soft reflection, instead of always just looking for the loudest, most confident voice?